The disappearance of Malaysian Flight 370 has captivated scientists and the common man alike. After extensive research, some shocking discoveries were made. Recently, scientists found something scary about the missing Malaysian flight that changed everything we know about this disaster. Were they trying to contact us? After MH370 vanished from radar, it surprisingly continued sending signals to a satellite over the Indian Ocean for about 6 hours. And for years, we had no idea this satellite belonged to a London-based company called Inmarsat. The strange connection confirms that the plane didn't just crash abruptly, but rather flew at high speeds and altitudes. Some communication systems were intentionally turned off, making these signals faint and hard to trace. During this time, there were 7 connections in total, 2 from the plane itself and 5 from Inmarsat. Additionally, 2 calls were attempted using a satellite phone, but unfortunately, nobody answered. However, these attempts provided more information about what might have been going on. Most of these messages seemed linked to 2 values recorded by someone or something. Or were they trying to throw us off? We also need to talk about MH370's strange radar path and ongoing investigation. Radar info showed something puzzling about MH370 after it disappeared. First, it suddenly turned southwest, then came back over the Malay Peninsula and circled an island called Penang. After that, it went northwest over the Malacca Strait and vanished somewhere over the Andaman Sea. This part of the flight lasted more than an hour, which isn't normal for hijackings or accidents. The polar angle. In London, technicians used something called Doppler shift logs to figure out exactly where the plane was. Around 2:40 a.m., the plane surprised everyone by making a sharp turn south while flying over Sumatra, Indonesia. This turn was unexpected because everyone thought the plane was going in a straight line. After that, even though there was some uncertainty, experts think the plane kept going toward Antarctica, way farther than it was supposed to. About 6 hours later, the Doppler data showed something really shocking. The plane suddenly started to drop really fast. This drop was much quicker than normal, 5 times faster than a normal plane. Right after it crossed the 7th arc, the plane tragically crashed into the ocean. The super-fast descent might have caused parts of the plane to break apart. The electronic info from the plane didn't show that it was a planned landing. It seemed more like something terrible happened abruptly. But the tricky part is that even though we know the plane crashed into the ocean after that rapid drop, we still don't know exactly where or why it happened. This leaves the whole mystery of what happened to MH370 still unsolved. All this information from the Doppler logs helped us understand a bit more, but big questions are still awaiting answers. What does the Doppler value tell us? We already talked about Doppler shift logs to pinpoint the plane's path. But now, let's examine the importance of these Doppler values. You see, technical analysis suggests that MH370 probably changed its course and headed south. We mentioned this in our first point as well. Understanding the Doppler value is super important here. It's like a measurement that tells us how the plane's signals change compared to where the satellite is. These changes in signal help planes talk to satellites when they're flying, but sometimes with older satellites, the signals might not be perfect, which can affect how the planes adjust themselves. There are a few things that mess with these signals. Imagine the satellite's path around the Earth, how it's tilted, and even its temperature. All these things can mess up the signals. These little differences can leave their mark on the data, which can mess up how well the plane and the satellite communicate. It's like trying to have a clear chat on a phone with bad reception. Sometimes the messages don't come through right. So when we're looking at all this data, these little factors can make a big difference and affect how well the plane's signals are sent and received by the satellite. Understanding these variables helps us figure out what really happened and why the communication between MH370 and the satellite might not have been so clear. But moving on, another mystery surrounding MH370 is the black boxes which we haven't found yet. Satellites suggested the plane kept flying for hours after it stopped talking. Malaysian officials later confirmed this. There were suspicions that Malaysia was hiding information because of past secrecy and corruption claims. Investigators from Europe, Australia, and the US faced a tough time due to unclear info and wrong search areas. They didn't find any floating debris in the South China Sea because the Malaysians didn't share all the details. If they had, it might have helped find the plane's spot and its black boxes. Finding these boxes in the vast ocean was hard. It took years to find similar boxes in a past crash. Australia took over the search in areas the satellites pointed out. The deep sea was tough to explore, and they needed a good map before using special machines to look deep down. Getting the map right was the first big step. Moving on, you'll be shocked at this, but there's a bizarre theory proposed by a radar expert based in Boulder, Colorado. Mike, an electrical engineer, studied radar data about the lost plane. He believed the plane climbed to 40,000 feet during a turn, almost its maximum limit. Mike thought this climb was intentional, causing strong forces on passengers. His theory suggested this climb was to rapidly remove cabin pressure, making everyone unconscious. This might control any misbehavior during the long flight. Passengers wouldn't notice until emergency oxygen masks dropped, but they'd only work for a short time. At such a high altitude, passengers would lose consciousness without struggling for air. Meanwhile, the cockpit had pressurized masks for the pilots, providing hours of oxygen. The plane, spotted as a dot on radars, sped toward Penang Island. Surprisingly, nearby air defense radar and fighter jets didn't pay attention to it. Mike was puzzled by this and concerned about its impact on aviation safety. Another theory about MH370 centers on the captain's role. Was it possible that the captain wanted to cause a crash? This unsettling idea isn't entirely new. Similar incidents have happened before. In 1997, the captain of Silk Air allegedly turned off crucial recorders before crashing the plane. In 1999, an Egypt Air co-pilot intentionally crashed a flight. Even just before the MH370 incident, a Mozambique Airlines captain crashed his plane from high up. There's also the haunting case of the German Wings Airbus in 2015, where the co-pilot locked the pilot out and crashed the plane. Investigations revealed the co-pilot's sadness and prior interest in the MH370 disappearance. But considering MH370, the co-pilot seemed different. He was described as young and optimistic, looking forward to his marriage. No records showed personal conflicts or doubts leading to depression. Also, unlike the German pilot, he flew a prestigious Boeing 777 for a respected national airline. These examples raise questions, leaving the mystery surrounding MH370 even more puzzling. But let's talk more about Captain Zahari. Captain Zahari was a pilot known for being really good at his job, but lately, some weird stuff has been discovered about him. Even though people said he was cool and happy, the truth seems different. Cops looked into his life, but they didn't find anything majorly wrong. He seemed okay at handling work stress, and his personal life wasn't off either. Even on the day of the flight, he looked fine in the airport cameras. But it wasn't the whole truth. It turns out that behind his collected look, a lot was going on in his personal life. His wife had left him, and he had troubles at home. He spent a lot of time alone waiting for flights. He got too much into social media, especially with a married woman and some young models. He tried to connect with them, but they weren't interested. People think he might have been sad and lonely, maybe even clinically depressed. Then there's this thing with his flight simulator. The FBI found a flight path that looked like the one MH370 took, but the Malaysian authorities didn't pay much attention. There's also talk of phones ringing for days after the crash. Some families said they could still call their loved ones' phones, which was strange. A phone expert said that if the plane went into the water, the phones shouldn't work at all, especially not for days. So where's the truth? Did the plane really crash? If not, where could it be, Wei? And why would the phones still ring? This whole thing makes you think, right? There are several other bizarre theories about flight MH370 which we couldn't include in this video. Some of them include the possibility of being hijacked and diverted to a secret location, and even the idea that it was shot down by terrorists or a government organization, not to mention the aliens angle. But we'd love to hear from you. Which theory do you think is the most probable? What do you think happened to Malaysia Flight MH370? Will we get any clues or find the wreckage of the doomed flight? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.